All right. So, Super's theory. Uh, yeah, this is definitely the I think the lifespan uh, element of this approach is really important. That's where the development comes. And throughout the lifespan, we have different life spaces, different life roles that we're playing to various degrees. You'll see that also in the article, one of the articles that's attached in this week's module. So basically throughout the lifespan, we're playing various roles. Super often, emphasize being a child, a student, an employee, a leisureite, someone who's, in retirement years, a spouse, a partner, so those are some of the common roles. Obviously, that's not an exhaustive list, but I think that life spaces that we play, a lot of different roles. And the roles we play throughout the lifespan impact like our self-concept of who we are, what we believe about ourselves, how we were kind of shaped and influenced, all come together to kind of, create this life path, this life career, is how some people describe it. So with that in mind, the child years, which is really what we're emphasizing this week, is, the child career development tasks. Once again, in childhood, especially the early years, like 7 and under, 8 or under, around there, that's where we're not providing information. We're not doing career assessments. We're not like going and doing job shadowing or taking them on internship sites, obviously. But I really like how Super talked about that maybe some of those core elements of childhood career development is about developing curiosity, exploring, getting information. And once again, I would add that that's inner information as well as outer information. Learning from key figures, whether those are parents, teachers, just whatever figures in society that they see that are impactful to the child. Developing like an internal control as well as kind of navigating external control. Sometimes that will be a big part of school counseling, is like with behavior issues of like, how do we kind of manage those behaviors? And so the child will be experiencing external control, but then hopefully the goal can also shift towards self-control. Then, children are also developing interests. They're going to develop a time perspective. So eventually kind of getting to the point where like the present has often been emphasized, but, with the expanding, brain development, to be able to see the future possibilities and planning for a future goal. And I think all of this is what Super said develops that self-concept and the ability to plan, what the text refers to as planfulness. So that's a brief intro there. Then with Gottfredson, I really appreciated, I'm going to pull this out. Okay. So I really like how her approach focuses on, self-creation, and self-creation that is socially influenced, socially kind of developed as well. It's not just about, our biological inheritance. It's about, this social inheritance, this social shaping and I think she goes once again much more into that social influence aspect. On page 185, no, excuse me, it's not 185, 183. Linda Gottfredson, it kind of talks about how she talks about this, developing a cognitive map of occupations. I think that's part of the self-creation and how it connects to the career space is, there's a map of occupations, there's a map of possibilities. So there's a huge, big vision of what could be done with life and what is out there in the world. But then there's a compass, an inner compass. Let's read a little bit of this. So at the bottom of 183, it says, to navigate this map, this cognitive map of occupations, people develop an ever-growing internal compass that guides them as they make choices in their daily lives, and is developed by the many choices they make each day. The internal compass reflects the interaction between one's biological self and the experiences that one encounters in the world, so the environment. So once again, that inner, biological development as well as the social shaping is a big emphasis in Gottfredson. But I really love that idea of this inner compass. I think that is, connecting with super of this, this self-concept, as well as some of just like the ideas of values and interests and personality that were talked about in trait and factor theory. I think there's some synthesis going on, but I think that metaphor can kind of be a powerful way of looking at career development. It's like, do I need to focus on, broadening my map, knowing what else is out there? Maybe I just have like a little bit of my map that's available. I need to like, have more drawn in. Or maybe it's this inner compass that, I see what's out there and I don't know how to proceed. So I think underneath the surface, the idea is that in childhood, the map's being developed. The compass, the inner compass is being developed. It's unconscious to the child at the time, but the work of the school counselor or of the mental health counselor or the career counselor is to maybe not consciously try to focus on the details of the map, but kind of setting the stage for the map to be understood later, for the inner compass to be trusted and embodied later, as well as currently. I think that inner compass is always there, but I think setting that stage for that is a big part of this development at those early years. Okay, then Gottfredson also talks about circumscription and compromise. So I think these concepts can sometimes be a little confusing, but in the end, I think the idea of the text, I think, describes it really well. So really quick, on page 184, circumscription, Sharp described it as a process in which young people eliminate alternatives that they feel will not be appropriate to them. And compromise is a process in which young people give up alternatives that they think or that they may like for ones that may be more accessible to them. So to put that in maybe a metaphor of like a funnel, I think I might have used the funnel metaphor last week too, but a funnel is the process of, if there's lots out there, circumscription is basically saying, how can I sift out and limit all the options that are there? So with all the career options. So Gottfredson talks about how at early years, at like on page 187 to like 189, she talks about the 4 stages, how we're oriented by size and power, by sex roles, by social valuation, and then orientation to the unique internal self. So based on like power and size, like, children might start to funnel down of thinking and limiting options by thinking, okay, I'm too small to do that occupation, or I'm too, like, I can't do that, at like sex roles at 6 to 8, they can start, that's only a female or a male role. That's once again assuming this dichotomy of gender. And social valuation, 9 to 13, like, certain occupations aren't okay for a social class. Like maybe they're getting messages from parents that certain occupations, no, that's beneath us. I think this brings to the surface a lot of these biases from a cultural lens that need to be worked through. But sometimes children don't, they don't have the support to like make sense of that. And like later on, they're just ingrained, and so if parents or if key figures aren't aware, then sometimes these biases can just be developed. I think that's kind of normal in our society, but it can really be harmful in the long run if that's not processed and kind of thought through and kind of unpackaged later on. So circumscription is kind of the limiting of options, through those younger years. So then by the time, like, brains have developed more, and sometimes certain things have just already been kind of cast to the side. But compromise is almost when the funnel opens up a bit more. It's like, okay, so these limited options that I've developed, maybe I don't really want those, or maybe this is the time where I'm starting to question, like, okay, maybe I can expand and compromise and see other possibilities that are out there. So yeah, compromise is kind of broadening and saying, maybe I can't do what I wanted to do. Like for me, it was like, maybe I don't want to be a medical doctor. I thought I wanted to do that in college. I was kind of shaped to say, that's the best option. There's a lot of beliefs in my family system about careers and what was prestigious, what was lucrative, what was valued. And it often was like that, being a medical doctor or a dentist. But then I went to college and it was like, oh, wait, I don't I don't like these classes. I don't want to do this. So part of my compromise situation was like, okay, this isn't fitting anymore. So I need to like broaden and kind of maybe consider or compromise and consider, new possibilities. I think my understanding of compromise might be a little bit different than obviously as child years. I'm jumping to a later area, but I think I kind of experienced how, those early years shaped what was considered honorable as a career. And so later on, I had to like kind of unpackage and consider more broadly possibilities. And to me, that was kind of that compromise state of like opening my awareness to new possibilities that beforehand I had already limited out the circumspection process.